Great Scott!
Okay, we're back again. We're back again. We're back again. It is Live Life Better with me, that's right, and Timothy. And today we're talking to my buddy, Scott Mortensen. Yes, that's right. He is a Renaissance man, a jack of all trades. He has climbed Mount Everest. He's rode the Arctic Ocean. That is right. 40 days in a rowboat. What are you thinking? 40 days in a rowboat. But super cool dude, firefighter, paramedic, now a doctor, just lived an incredibly cool life. And I'm always in awe of his stories. And he's really fun to talk to. So hope you enjoy. Oh, yeah. Ooh, ah, ah. Ooh, chakalaka. Welcome to Live Life Better. This is Scott Eastwood. I want you to live the best version of your life. We're all human beings. We're all just trying to figure it out. Find something you love and chase it. We are live. Scott, what? Okay, you brought me this necklace I'm looking at. For people who can't see it, this is amazing. This is what, bear feet?
Oh, guess.
I think bear claws.
Bear feet.
Is it bear claws from Alaska?
That's a great guess. What kind of bear?
Grizzly?
No.
No?
There's a hint right there. The other thing I brought.
Polar bear. Polar bear.
Claws.
They do have like maybe more white in them.
Yeah, I said I was bringing you bear claws. You thought it was a donut, huh?
Yeah. Wait. Okay. Explain the story behind this.
My buddy gave that to me. He actually shot that polar bear, and he's like, "Here,
He shot
I made
a polar
you this
bear.
cool necklace."
Was this in Alaska? This is.
Yeah, this was Alaska. I was a flight medic up there, fire captain, and working with.
Wait. Hold on. An Eskimo shot this? Because, like, what's the deal with hunting polar bears? Aren't they endangered?
Yeah, you don't want to hunt. See, I love polar bears. They're so cool. And one of my goals is to actually go out and pet one and then kind of get away with it, because they're really curious animals. And you see on the nature channels, like, they're the only animals that hunt humans. Okay, maybe. But if you go on my Instagram, you can see that Russian dude.
Good things lie.
Yeah, feeding some polar bears some milk. He's got a little baby cub. They're cool animals, so it sucks to shoot them. But when they get too close to town and they do start stalking humans,
They have to take them out.
yeah, and they're the only ones that are allowed to. So I love polar bears. They're dope little animals. Keep going down there, Tim. Check this out.
Trying to find this bear.
Crazy Russian. There you go. Click on that one, man. Look at that guy. He's just feeding the mama polar bear some milk.
No
some
way.
hard winter.
And that bear's just
Yeah, he's like, thanks for the milk, and the little cubs on his leg. That's a wild polar bear.
What's a wild polar bear?
So I encourage everybody, if you see a polar bear in the outdoors, just, don't shoot it at first. Go up and try to pet it and see what happens. You might get an epic shot.
We do not endorse that on this show.
Yes,
Is this as old as
not
it looks?
endorsing
It's called
that?
natural selection. The fast shall survive.
Oh my gosh. What are you handing it?
That's just milk, condensed milk.
But I don't understand. How is this bear not attacking you and eating you?
That's not me, dude. That's a Russian. Everyone thinks that's me. It
Okay,
says, no one reads
got it,
anymore.
got it. It's
says
not you,
crazy
it's a
Russian
Russian.
in the 70s.
In the 70s, a crazy Russian did this. Look at that little bear.
They just got friendly with the polar bears.
He just became friendly. Like
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but remember what happened to the last guy who got friendly with the bears?
Are we
guy
starting our podcast, by the way? Is this how we start now? I love it. You just get in.
We're
We're
just
just talking about
rolling
Instagram. Okay, for everyone who doesn't know, we're at Movie Mort. That's my Instagram. Don't feel like you got to follow
that was
me.
a super
I don't get paid for
shameless
this.
plug.
But
So
how do people
shameless.
see what they're looking at here?
They see it on the thing, on the TV, man. It's technology.
On the video.
I don't get it. See, usually I listen to podcasts.
We're going to be putting them up on the YouTubes.
Oh, I
So
see.
you can
And
watch
the
the video
internet.
and see some assets.
So things have gone full circle, man. Back in the 20s, it was all radio, right? And then TV came out. You had silent movies.
Sure.
Then you had talkies. Then you had internet, YouTube, all that. Now we're just going back to radio.
So, well, no, we're doing a video and radio.
Yeah, I just like the radio, bro.
I like
Let's
the
go
radio
full
too.
circle.
Well, the radio's nice because you can listen to, while you're doing something else, another activity. You can multitask.
Like working out.
But I think we need to dissect this picture a little more. This Russian is feeding a polar bear.
We need to go through. So here's my goal, dude. Let's go through 100 topics in this podcast in 1 hour, dude.
No.
Holy shit.
Come on,
guys.
That sounds terrible.
I want to know what's going on with this polar bear. He did this famously?
Yes. No one knows about it. That's why it's cool.
Okay, so there was a Russian. We're going to look this up.
Instagram at
we look this up, Tim.
.com.
We find out some intel on this.
Russian hands milk to polar bear.
Polar bear. This is amazing, though. That's an amazing photo.
Okay, next topic. I already explained everything we need to know about this. Let's talk more about you.
No? Okay, what do you want to know about me?
How's your day? How was your night last night? Everyone, we're supposed to surf this morning bright and early, and Eastwood was a no-show.
I did no-show. Well, no, but I actually got up and went to go surf, but you...
Okay.
And then it was LA, it's a thing, and it's hard. But anyways, I didn't surf this morning.
Okay.
Worked out yesterday, though. It's good.
Nice.
I'm hurting. My body's sore. I got to get into yoga. More yoga is really
Yoga's
everything.
Good. And if you can't make it to a yoga class, find a steam room. Stretch.
Steam room,
I love
sauna.
these podcasts because it's all about how to live. Tips on, everyone wants to show you their tip. Like, look at my tip for daily. I don't want to see your tip, bro. I got my own tip. But everyone's all about
this bear's tip? That's
the how of living, man. When do we delve into the why? That's
why?
That's what we should talk about.
Okay, we'll talk about the why.
I'd love to.
Let's talk about your why because you're on the show.
Okay.
For people who don't know, and I'm going to kind of like sing your praises for a second here. You've done some incredible things with your life. You have climbed Mount Everest, summited Mount Everest, rode the Arctic, which for people who don't get that, that's rowing the Arctic Ocean, which is just insanity to me. But you did it for 40 days on a rowboat with 3 other guys.
Yeah.
You've been a firefighter, paramedic, ridden across the country in a bicycle. Am I forgetting anything? I think there's like some other stuff too that you're just not.
No,
you don't talk about. But
I do movies and medicine. Man. That's what I've done my whole life. I was EMT since '95, and
yeah. But what is it? What is it that drives you to do these things? That this takes a certain type of person to want to do these crazy adventures you've done.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and I guess we could spend an hour talking about that, but. Basically, I want to get to the end of my life being an old grandpa sitting on the porch with my little grandkids running around having good stories to tell. Like my grandfather told me growing up, his circumstances were way different. He came over to the U.S., was orphaned at age 10, was hopping on trains during the Depression to keep him and his brother alive. I mean, he told me the coolest quick stories like at night. I'm just like, this guy's such a legend. Like one time his brother and him got split up. Because they only had one blanket.
They immigrated here from where?
Denmark, man. Vikings.
Denmark.
Yeah, that's why I'm a Viking, man. That's why I got polar bear
6'4".
claws, 6'4".
But your dad's not 6'4".
Yeah, he's pretty small. I might be the milkman's.
The milkman's child.
Anyways, yeah, my grandpa just had rad stories, One time he's got split up with his little brother on a train.
So wait, you're saying all this stems from your grandfather's stories of, hey, this guy lived in an incredibly cool life and I want to do the same, and that's sort of you think were the basis of all this?
My grandfather had great stories. My dad had great stories. Like I said, my dad and your dad should get together and go bowling, except they probably both hate bowling.
I'm not a very good bowler, nor do I like bowling.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's just a saying. Anyways. Yeah, my dad, just getting to know that guy over the years, he never, toots his own horn. There's just stuff I found out, especially after he started drinking wine in his older age. He'd tell me some of these stories like, oh, yeah, I was going to go in the seminary, but then I went to Vietnam and became a pilot. I was watching Top Gun when I was a kid with my dad, and he's like, I flew off that carrier. I'm like, what? And then, a few years later, he's like, oh, yeah, I arrested that guy, or I got an award. Oh, and we're watching Donnie Brasco a few years later, and it's like, oh, yeah, Joe Pistone was in my carpool. What? My dad just had all these epic stories about being an FBI agent, bomb tech, SWAT team leader, Vietnam vet flying planes. The stories that came out over the years, like I'm just now getting to know the dude, and it's like, man, you're a pretty hardcore guy, Dad. I thought you were all business, just went to work, came back at home, kept the electricity on and food on the table. But he's got some good stories, So I adventure for my own reasons, and that's just because I think without getting out of what I call the Coto Comfort of living in civilization, you can't really know much about yourself. You can't test yourself. You don't know your limits. A man's got to know his limitations, right?
Heard that before.
That's a good line.
Wise man said that.
Yeah, what movie was that? Anyone? But yeah, once you know your limitations, then you can be like, oh, I can break those, or let me step outside those. So
you said, you know, you jumped around from that was a calling you felt, right, that you wanted to go do these things, but then how did you decide you wanted to go, you know, climb Everest, for example?
Well, I lived in New Zealand in '96 for a year, and that was the year of this huge disaster. So when you see the Everest movies, that's usually the year it was based off. Beck Weathers spending the night in the death zone and then just popping back into camp next morning without his nose, being like, hey, everyone, I'm still alive. You left me there to die, but that's cool.
Yeah.
It's, you know. So I climbed, I hiked, I surfed.
But you didn't, were there many documentaries about Everest at that time?
Krakauer had his book, In the Thin Air, came out later. I wanted to climb Everest in '96, working in Everest because a lot of the good, or living in New Zealand because a lot of the good climbers lived there.
So you
Rob
already a
Hall
climber,
was
though. How did you start climbing? Like, who got you into climbing?
That's a good question too. I grew up in boring suburbia. This is why I don't like lukewarm living. You know, suburbia is not known to like
push you.
Suburbia is not known to like, yes, exactly, present a lot of adversity, a lot of obstacles. Obstacles are just stepping stones to see how high you can climb. And growing up with my group of friends, who I'm still friends with today, we would think we were John Muir and go climb up the radio towers when the Santa Ana winds were blowing and hang upside down from our knees. And, you know, we made the most of it. We were just this weird little group of adventurers.
Sure. You like to, I've seen some of your old videos. I've seen some of your old stunt videos.
Yes.
You were like the original
jackasses.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of little cliques of kids out there living, even to this day, that are just, you know, onto something new and cool. But we were definitely... So
you like climbing, but then you obviously had to become an expert climber to even... Right, you have to, like, you don't just become, you know, just like climbing and then you go, I want to learn how to climb Everest, right? You probably already had to have been climbing big stuff, right?
Yeah, well, that's a yes and no question. So let's delve into Everest and then see all these stories I want to say for when I was older, but I guess we're gonna bust them out now then.
Well, you know what's funny is you say your grandfather like would tell these stories in like sporadic things. Yeah, I think it's a Mortensen thing.
It is a Mortensen clan.
Because you give like half stories. You're like, oh yeah, I did that. I'm like, well, you need to explain that story. You can't just say, I climbed Everest. You know, it's like, no, people want to understand what that's like because that is something that's a monumental feat. Yeah.
Well, I think in this day and age, it's cool to kind of like not toot your own horn, let people get because you kind of stole my MO, man. You're like the biggest secret agent man I know now. It's like, hey, I always have to ask him 5 times. So, hey, where are you today? Like, what's going on? And like the next day it comes out, oh, I was surfing Kelly Slater's Wave Ranch, or I was hanging out with the biggest star in all of Hollywood last night. We won't say names. You never name drop or anything like that, but you always got a cool story. And now, so you took my MO, man. It's like I gotta tighten the screws to get anything out of you these days.
So tell me, how does one even go about that feat, right? You think, okay, cool. You thought it was this interesting, intriguing thing to go climb this giant ass mountain.
Oh yeah.
How does one?
And I didn't want to just be a client and have a Sherpa, you know, short rope me up. So I had to learn and do it all on my own and have the.
So for people who don't know who, when a Sherpa is. The local climbers.
Sherpas are the legends, the Olympics of mountaineering gold medalists for the last, 100 years.
And some people just pretty much pay and kind of have them do all the hard, heavy lifting. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So, like, in the surfing world, our Everest is probably Pipeline or Chopo, and you could have someone tow you into a wave there or go, block the crowd and let you get a wave and surf it.
Still be really dangerous.
Yeah, it'd still be really dangerous. Yeah. And so Everest is really dangerous even with the Sherpas because, I went as a cameraman, a paramedic, so I didn't have to pay
that was your ticket.
Cost. That was my ticket. I trained for 3 years. I didn't know if I could do it even with all my training. I was running 4 miles a day at 6-minute mile pace on an incline, training my brains out.
And then what happened? You get there?
I get there and I got so sick before I even got to Everest.
That's a normal thing though, right? Is that normal?
Sick.
I think you told me that's
it's not
happens,
normal
right?
for. I mean, I was the worst of the worst. I had a 70-pound pack because I had video equipment in there and cameras. Way too heavy. Like that Sherpa that Tim's looking at right now. That's why those guys are legends. They'll carry a refrigerator up here.
That thing is huge.
They'll carry a refrigerator up the base camp and sandals. So I will never complain.
Ridiculous.
But
Why
I got
do you
food
have a refrigerator
poisoning.
out there? It's
I got
freezing.
food poisoning. That's why I got super sick before I even made it to base camp. And probably all the Sherpas were looking at me and like, oh, this guy's not going to make it.
Okay, but base camp's not just a little thing.
Base camp's
so from what I
dope,
learned
man.
talking to you, base camp is like a big deal, right? It's what's the elevation of base camp?
17,000.
Oh, just a little like casually 17,000 feet.
Yeah, but I could get everyone in this room to base camp easy, you know. And my mentor, his name is Tim Ripple. His name is Tim Ripple. Peak Freaks Canadian Guiding Company. He was the man. He would just show up, 3 days late. I'll catch up with you guys. And sure enough, he comes running up to base camp in his sneakers. So there's some people that have it, physiologically speaking, Sherpas.
Like higher red.
Maybe
blood
my
cell
Viking culture.
Is that it? Did I miss?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
red
Until you
blood
get up
cells?
there, you don't know if you're going to, get altitude mountains, AMS, altitude mountain sickness or not.
But you got it. You got it walking into base camp.
No, I didn't. I got food poisoning. So
Okay.
yeah, but I mean, I felt the effects of the altitude. I had trained so hard, maybe overtrained, that for me, halfway to base camp, there's a rad Sherpa town called Namche Bazaar that I think everyone should try to go to. No roads, no cars. It's just a bunch of Sherpas living in the Himalayas. And that's what people don't tell you about Everest. It's one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see in your life, So my worst moment physically was before I was in Namche Bazaar, before I even made it to base camp. And everything from there to the summit was
With the summit,
milk and
the
honey,
summit is
roses and sunshine.
The summit's how high though?
It's around 29,000 feet. It grows about an inch a year, I think.
So you have to walk into base camp at 17,000 feet.
Yeah.
And then climb the mountain another 10,000. Like the mountain.
Yeah,
I mean, the
it's
mountain.
good math,
the
dude.
mountain.
Yeah.
The mountain. The
At
mountain.
least. Yeah, and you go up and down the mountain 5 times. Just training. They say you summit Everest 5 times. Just training. So that's my point. Is all this overtraining I was doing. I was with this cool dude named Larry. He's a math teacher in Reno. He was like, "Nah, I'll train when I get there." Smart guy. He was overweight, but not overweight intentionally. He just stacked.
Stuck in LBs
saved
on.
his nutrients and just went real slow, everything he did. So I learned a lot from that guy, just watching this guy. Man, this guy's so methodical. Meanwhile, I'm in base camp doing pull-ups, worried about, staying ripped.
Vanity.
And looking good. Vanity
good.
muscles, yeah.
Gotta be worried about that. It's
Yeah,
almost summer.
that's half,
Summer's here.
That's like half the battle, staying in shape. That's why I'm like 40s and still got my six-pack. Oh, maybe I gotta keep up with Eastwood, dude. I gotta look good. If the paparazzi gets us.
But vanity can be a good thing too.
It can be, but even better is like having a stronger why, and that's why
true.
podcasts talk about how a lot. For me, I'm more interested in why. So when I was a firefighter, it's like, dude, someday I might have to run up 20 flights of stairs and save a life. So being in shape was my job, and that's cool motivation.
That's great motivation.
Yeah, so if you can get a why like that, even if it's just like you're a house mom, you want to do a triathlon, or run a sub 3-hour marathon, whatever. I call it a noble pursuit. Everyone needs a noble pursuit in life, and what that is just purpose. You need to escape the Coto Comfort, which we're talking about civilization every now and then, however you do it, and you need to find your noble pursuit. So back to Everest, that was my noble pursuit at the time. I wanted to go climb, I wanted to go document, and interesting thing in base camp, being a firefighter, we had decided, because you hear all these stories of people just stepping over dying people.
Mm-hmm.
As a group, we're like, if we see any dying people, we're gonna rescue them, dude. And I said, that's my mantra as a firefighter. You're willing to give up your life for a stranger. You run into burning buildings when everyone's running out, all those other cliches. But it's cliches are cliches because they're true. They have truth to them. And so we decided that. And I think the coolest thing about Everest was not just getting to the top, which was a piece of cake. The weather was amazing. I think,
but that doesn't happen for everybody, right?
No, dude. And that's my spiritual side. I'm like, every time I go to a summit and stuff, it gets sunny and the weather chills out, and I'm just like, thank you, God. So And, you know, my atheist friends would laugh at me for saying that. And maybe rightfully so. I don't think God really cares about my summit. But the point is, everything up to the summit was peaches and sunshine, right? And then on the way down, 80% of fatalities and injuries happen on the way down because everyone gives it their all, just trying to make it up there. That's when the proverbial shite hit the fan, you know.
What happened?
We had a climber in our group that shouldn't have been on Everest. He was the first time he'd ever seen snow. So that's why you asked me. It's like, you know, can anyone go up there and just hire a Sherpa? Yeah. And that's why a lot of people don't like that mountain in particular. It's like the bonsai pipeline. It's overcrowded. It's overhyped, but it is beautiful and it is amazing.
So this guy who shouldn't have been on Everest never saw snow.
Yeah, and he had a cool name too. His name was Sultan, the Sultan of Swing. He got altitude mountain sickness, and he went down on the South Summit, which we knew he was because God bless him, you know. He was up there going for it, but that was my fear from the beginning. Like, this guy's going to be a liability. I don't want to get to the summit and climb back down and lose my life having to save someone else.
You already knew he was a liability from the beginning. Why? What happened?
Dude, that guy had never seen snow. He's from man, and I hope he's not listening because I don't want to be rude to his feelings.
It's okay.
Yeah. Never seen snow in his life. And
so he passed, he went down. When you say he went down, what do you mean?
He's just one of those guys. If you pay enough money, someone's going to take you up. So you might as well find a good guy that's going to keep you safe. And that's what, God bless him, Tim Ripple of Peak Freaks did. He's like, I'll keep an eye on you. I've never left a client. I've never lost a client. You know, this was the right dude for this to happen to. Anyways, it was my worst nightmare coming down. All I want to do is get off that mountain. And here we are running into the Sultan of Swing from Oman, who's just collapsed on the South Summit. So for people who maybe know something about Everest, the reason you step over people that are dying is because you don't only have energy to take care of yourself. So you're going to bring more victims to the party.
Sure. You
can't rescue that guy because if you try, you're going to die, and the Sherpas are with you, going to die. Then it's, instead of one person dead, it's 8 people dead. You know, it's this comedy of errors is what I call it. And it's what happened kind of in 96. If you've seen the movie, it's like just everything went wrong. Fortunately for our group, we had already decided and pre-planned in base camp, like, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. And I kid you not, there's probably 8 or 9 people involved in the rescue, and everyone did their job so perfectly and flawlessly that we managed to save this guy's life. From taking him down from the South Summit all the way back to Camp 4, which is 26,000 feet. And then from there, back to Camp 2, back through the Kumba Icefall, which is super dangerous, got him all the way back to base camp. And that was kind of like even more exciting than summiting. Was like, yeah, dude, anyone can summit, but can anyone save it, you know, a life on the way back down? So kudos to Tim Ripple and Peak Freaks. I think he's retired now, so I'm not plugging his company. But it was that was the coolest part.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
It really is. I
mean, Larry, the math teacher from Reno, gave up his oxygen for this guy. Tim, you know, just started short roping him down. Spent till 3 in the morning short roping this guy off the mountain because you can't just put him, you know, on a piece of cardboard and slide him down. See it? Camp 4, dude. There's lots of big crevasses and whatnot, dude. And you go over one of the sides, you're gone. That's it. So it's a lot of work. I had to run back to Camp 4, which is around 26,000 feet.
Look at that mountain.
Yeah, and I was up for 36 hours at this point.
Disturbing.
All I did was gather rescue supplies and a sleeping bag and paid a guy a lot of money to bring the equipment back up to them. And the Sultan of Swing ended up spending the night in the death zone in the nicest sleeping bag that I took from this other really rich climber. I'm like, I need to borrow your extra sleeping bag. So the dude spent the night.
You had 2 pairs of gloves this entire time.
Exactly, dude. So long story short, man, this guy spent the night in the death zone, just chilling in the warmest North Face sleeping bag ever.
Where is the death zone? Why? What do they call it the death zone? What's
the death zone is? It's a good question. Anywhere about 26,000. It's because that's where if you go without oxygen, it basically has a third amount of the oxygen that we have here due to atmospheric pressure. I mean, it has the same amount of oxygen. If you want to get into the science of it, it's just the molecules are way more spread out, so your red blood cells aren't getting them. Anyway, so it's like breathing a third of oxygen.
Okay.
And for most people, if you do that, so if you took any of us in this room and dropped us off on Everest right now on the peak, we'd be dead really quick because we don't have the RBCs.
How quick are we talking?
I don't know. I've never done it.
But, I mean, would you die in an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably like an hour. You would definitely get hypoxia and die. So you need to be acclimatized, and that's why you go up and down the mountain in little progressions to get, ready for that peak summit attempt. And you sneak up there, you grab the summit, and you bail back down. Unless you have to do a rescue, which we did. And we spent the whole night till 3 a.m. doing a rescue. We thought the guy was dead because when you get so frozen and hypoxic, you can't really tell if someone's alive. He walked into base camp the next morning under the arms of 2 Sherpas. And he's like, that sleeping bag saved my life. And I just laughed because I'm like, no, dude. All these other people standing around here saved your life. Larry gave up his oxygen. Tim, who short roped you down. The Sherpa who brought the sleeping bag up to you. But that's kind of why, I knew this guy was going to get us in this position, is because anything in life that's worth accomplishing is usually a team effort,
So that took you, what, like a month to do?
Yeah, 42 days once we hit base camp. That's a cool picture, Tim. So that's exactly what it looks like. Well, you go out, okay, midnight.
Jeez.
And that's when you start. So you get to Camp 4, and you have like 6 hours to sleep. I didn't get to sleep. Tim didn't get to sleep because we're boiling water for everyone. Everyone was exhausted. I had to get my camera stuff ready. And you know me, I can't sleep, man. Not unless it's perfect conditions. And so, but that was the coolest. That might have been when we went, 2008. Just like tromping along. Gonna go summit Everest. It's midnight. This is crazy. This is crazy.
What camp is that?
That's 4.
So this is 17,000 feet where the tents are?
No, that's 26,000 feet. So base camp, 17,000. Then you got camp 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4 is where you kind of go steal the summit and get back.
No, see, I draw the line on this. This has zero interest in my life to do this. But this is,
what you could do is just get a helicopter, and because they make them now. You fly helicopters, and they didn't have them when I was there, but they have one that actually could land on the peak. That would be pretty dope. Just put an oxygen thing on, hit hop out. Yeah, put your flag in. Later, suckers.
Later.
Just fly back down. Please do that.
Okay.
That would be so heroic.
I'll do that.
That would be awesome.
Okay, wait. You do this, which takes about a month. Then you do something else in your life that takes about a month. 40 days to be exact, right?
Yeah, you know what? And I swore off adventures. You swear them off after Everest. I'm like, I'm going to live 100% inspiration 100% of the time. Never say another negative thing in my life. But then soon enough, that Coto Comfort creeps back in. You find yourself just daily living, grinding, making fun of people like you used to, instead of just spreading love and joy and being pretty pumped on life. So every now and then, I would say every 3 or 4 years, I got to go do something crazy.
Okay, and this time you decided, I'll go to another cold place. And this time there'll be an ocean involved.
Yeah, this was not smart.
This is, okay, explain. You rode across the Arctic Ocean from Alaska to Russia.
Yeah, basically, let's back up, because one of the coolest adventures I ever did was ride a cheap $200 bicycle across the United States with my buddy Matt. It was like just a summer joke. It started as a joke. That was cool. So that's what got me started on all of this. And
but what do you mean? You get started and then what? You say, okay, I want to be an adventurer. I want to be an adventurer filmmaker. Is that what you thought in your mind? Like, I want to make films about it?
Yeah, I went to school, kind of dropped out of pre-med because I'm like, I can't sit in a chair for 10 years and study, dude. I'm too young for this. I'm not doing it. So I did film, wanted to work for National Geographic, but I got into nonprofit, which was even cooler for me because you could give back. We rode bicycles across the U.S. to raise money for a Thai orphanage that bought little kids out of human trafficking. It sounds like a weird story, but that's what it was.
It's amazing.
So then flash forward, every 4 years I'll go on like a cool adventure. We did Everest, and then the Arctic Road, which you're talking about, which was 1,000 miles in 40 days with...
Whose idea was that?
2 of the best guys I've met in my life. One guy...
Whose idea was that?
Not mine. They called me because they knew what I did on Everest. They knew I could hold the camera, and I was also a paramedic. So, You know, it's kind of double dipping. Like if you want someone on your team that knows medicine and movies, I guess word just gets out and they call me. I'm like, no, hard no.
Hard no.
Were you in a rowboat or were you in a?
Yeah, we were in an open ocean rowboat. It was Arctic Row, was the name of and we're like kind of among the first guys to do it. I think a lot of people have tried, so no one's really pulled it off yet because everyone thought global warming would open the Northwest Passage and we'd be going that route. There's our boat. Yeah, that brings back some terrible memories.
Jeez. 40 days.
Yeah, 40 days on a boat with 4 dudes. The open ocean. No, that's not it.
No.
But that's what it looks like. Close enough. So, yeah. So, among, like, the sailing community, there's this weird niche of people that do open ocean rowing. And it's really cool.
Okay. So, there's people that wanted to accomplish this. 3 other guys, to be specific. Yeah. And they call you. You give them a hard no.
Yeah.
Then how do they convince you?
And we should have known when we did a little practice run across Lake Michigan. It took 24 hours and we was puking and this is going to be gnarly.
Is that you?
Yeah, I never got seasick in my life until that day. 6-foot waves on Lake Michigan, and I was like, no, I don't need meds, dude. I'm good. I'll never get seasick. I'm a waterman.
Is that you, Scott?
Yeah, that's me, man. Can't you tell from my guns there?
That's Lake Michigan. That's your practice run.
Yeah, it was a practice.
So you guys already knew.
Which was also miserable. I mean, 20 more hours on a going through 6-foot surf.
Did you think at times, this is stupid. I'm just going to back out of this whole thing.
You don't know, because once I commit to something, I stay with it. And the guys were awesome. Colin West and Paul Ridley, dude, just 2 of the best guys I've ever met, and became best friends, having to spend 24/7 on a boat with them. You're taking a dump in a Home Depot bucket. You get to know someone real quick.
That also doesn't sound fun, but it's really impressive. It's really impressive to push yourself. And I think that's what you talk about a lot is, I think you chase some adversity, right? So
true.
You chase it because it makes you, you feel like you have a purpose because of it?
Well, it's the line we said, obstacles in your life, they're little stepping stones to see how high you can climb. Without this adversity, it doesn't matter who you are. My godson's this cool little Afro-Carib kid from Bay Islands, Honduras. He's a black young man living in white, affluent Santa Barbara. And, I don't get to see him as much as I want, but when we talk adversity and things he has to overcome, there is nothing compared to back home. So Santa Barbara is awesome. He's popular, well-liked, good-looking. But, that's not always a good thing to have no adversity in your life.
Sure.
When you're overcome wondering where your food's coming from, your next meal's coming from, you have some human being that's not a good person to you. All those things are put in your life to test your character, to test your worth, I guess. And it's only by being totally exhausted will you know how strong you are. It's only by having to try to love your enemies to know how capable you are of incredible things. So I think that's what we lack in our Coto Comfort society is adversity, because we're always complaining about that victim mentality, which I can't stand. And I think you're with me on that. Mm-hmm. Because that adversity in life is so good for you. It's so healthy, and sometimes you have to fabricate it. I grew up in suburbia, not a lot of adversity, so that's why I did a lot of stuff.
Well, if you think about it, it makes sense. Before we lived in the society we live in now, we had to fend every day for food, water, and so your body's like put to the test every day. And I think that's why, I think that's why sometimes when I work out, mm-hmm. you're putting so much stress on your body. That's what you're doing. You're stressing the body, but then you feel calm and good afterwards, right? You feel calm and good because you had this adversity, and I think it makes us feel more human. Mm-hmm. Like that's sort of how we had to be in the wild, right?
100%.
We had to run from an animal. We had to, whatever we had to do.
Yep. I call that the art of fabricated adversity, because what you're doing is imposing these challenges that you come up with in your life. Because, I mean, thank God we're not walking 3 miles a day to get fresh water.
Some people are.
Some people are. And yeah, and I try to give back to those causes and things, you know, little noble pursuits in my life that we've talked about. But it's a blessing to not have to worry about survival, because now we can worry about, all right, let's advance humanity. Let's work on medicine. Let's work on science. Let's work on the arts. Let's make a bitchin' movie. Let's do all these. That's such a blessing. And we forget that in the Coto Comfort. You don't wake up every day going, I'm so lucky. I don't have to worry about where my food's coming from. I get to concentrate on all these other things that end up just bumming us out and stressing us out. But so a lot of these adventures is just restoring that perspective, you know, like, man, this is what survival was like. You know, for me, it's like relying on teamwork and relying on a power bigger than yourself and belonging to this whole cause called humanity, that we're all in it together. And, you know, I believe in a benevolent universe. I feel like this universe is made to let you succeed, but you got to put in a lot of the effort, a lot of the work. And so these adventures, you know, once every 4 years kind of restore that appreciation. You know, if you're not waking up in the morning with just appreciation, wonder, and joy, you need to hit the reset button with something.
So what's the next adventure for you?
I think it's you and I, man, making a cool movie to create a pursuit of some sort. Because the Eastwood I know, man, as soon as that camera turns on, you're getting so good at just being polished and suave and smart and intelligent. But there's yet to be a role. There's some role or niche out there for you. And I'm a little bit of a prophet, so I'm going to speak this into existence for you.
Okay. Sure.
That you have such a cool charisma, man, that the world has yet to see. So I'm excited to work on that with you in the next 3 or 4 years.
But you're doing medicine now.
Movies and medicine. It's what I've always done. So
you've gone back. You said you weren't going to go back. And you said you said I don't want to be in school, and then you go through the whole cycle, and now you go back and you're in PA school, right? You're finishing.
Yep, physician assistant school, which is a great profession. I just needed to take, after I was EMT in '95, and then I was a paramedic in like 2001, and then you just hit a ceiling, you know. It's like, all right, I got to take this one step further, and I'll probably eventually go to med school, maybe like when I'm 50.
Sure.
Just so I could make fun of doctors more. Because right now I still have that respect. I'm like, man, you took the MCAT, you did all the, you know, but we could talk for hours on like what's wrong with modern medicine as a PA.
What is wrong with modern medicine?
Well, as a PA, you get to hopscotch around. It's the coolest thing. I can be doing robotic surgery one day, and then I can be in the derm office the next day. I can be back in the ER. Doctors don't get to do that, dude. And a lot of my friends are doctors.
So what you're saying, they just stay in their little chambers?
You kind of have to. It's you know, we can talk for hours on what's wrong with modern medicine, but I think there's a lot of things right with it as well. Yeah, so you got most doctors do their residency somewhere. Okay, first they go to high school. They go to college. They're butts in a seat all the time. They got to take their OChem and their physics, pass the MCAT, get into med school. Let's go right into med school. Maybe one glad year there. And then they get about $500,000 in student loans if they're, you know, coming from disadvantaged background. And then they do their residency, which is another 3 or 4 years. And you're making 50, 60 grand a year as a resident. So that 12, 13-year process doesn't allow a lot of lateral mobility. It's kind of just vertical mobility. So a doctor who's a primary care doctor, that will be a specialty. If he's you know, oncologist, that's a specialty. And the cool thing about being a physician assistant is you get to go hang out with the best of the best from every division and specialty. So I know a lot about, I guess, broad medicine, and I certainly don't go as deep as a lot of my doctor friends. But I would say, you know, 1 out of 10 doctors is brilliant, someone you want to work with. I'd say 5 out of 10 are great, and, you know, the rest you're on your own. I'm not sure. Because
how is there that much disparity in the process? If everyone has to go to medical school and the boards are the same, where do you think, is it just...
I'll tell you, because you can be super, super book smart, which a lot of people are, and you're not, and they're going to get into med school. It doesn't matter how much common sense or mechanical aptitude they have. If you are super smart and you pass that MCAT and you pass your boards, you're going to be a doctor. Now, have I ran into, you know, third-year medical students that don't know how to take a blood pressure? Maybe. Okay, but I've had a lot of experience. I have probably 10 15,000 hours of patient contact experience. I can walk into a room and go, oh, this person's sick. Like, I need to get them to the hospital ASAP. Or like, nah, we got time.
Do I look sick today from all the wine that I had
You
last
got
night?
a little brain fog, but you're gonna be fine. And that's another thing. So medicine is
Can you
designed
get me
for
to
sick people. It's not designed for well people like you. Okay, all this evidence-based stuff we have is designed for the sickest of the sick. This drug will help this person because if they don't take it, they're gonna die. Now, when it comes to you two guys or healthy relative guys, doctors don't really care because it's not a life-threatening situation. I might be able to make you 1% better, you know, but I got all these sick people I gotta take care of. And you walk around any ICU, and 9 out of 10 people there, they earn their way to the ICU. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your cancer and your congestive heart failure, and oh, but you smoked, 2 packs a day and drank, a 6er a daily. It's like, you kind of earned your spot here. Enjoy your stay. I still have compassion. We're still gonna do the best we can for you. But that's what a lot of medicine is designed for. Is like the sickest of the sick.
It's weird. Sometimes I go back and forth between my compassionate side and then also being a very like natural selection base in my thinking.
That's
right?
good. Yeah, it's good.
And so I have that. I battle that because unless I'm like, well, everyone deserves to be healthy but then do they deserve to be if they don't take care of themselves or if they don't, And I guess some people don't have the disadvantage of not having that education. Everyone comes from a different background.
100%.
But it just, I don't know. Yeah, there's a part of like, the world's ruthless, right?
Yeah, and that's what I like to say, man. I've been interfering with natural selection since 1995. So it's good for you to go back and forth because if you don't, you're a bad person, and if you're too loving and too great, it's like, well, you don't really have common sense then. So if you're not a little bit altruistic and a little bit cynical, you're not a fully grown human being. So it's okay to have those separate feelings.
Well, that would lead me right into talking about overpopulation that you wanted to talk about.
I was like, I'm going to debate you. We're going to have fun just arguing, man. Yeah, well, I disagree with you all the time, which is great fun. We've had some good conversations. But one of the things you said is like having a kid is so selfish. And I'm like, what do you mean to say selfless? Because it's very selfless. Mothers find their purpose in having kids. They become these great saint human beings like my mom taking care of me.
And when I say that, I don't mean it's a bad thing.
No, I get what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that there is an overpopulation problem, and
100%.
And there are many kids who don't come from good families, don't have a background. And I said that it is less selfish to adopt.
True.
I said having a kid inherently is a little selfish because we want our offspring to, we want to look into that person, and
it's a bit narcissistic.
It's a bit like, hey, well, I want one too, that's going to have my qualities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good thing because all my friends with good genetics and genes aren't procreating. It's almost like they know what you're just saying. And meanwhile, all these little, how do I describe the rest of the population that's procreating at an alarming rate without insulting anyone? Put it this way, on my OB-GYN rotation, and we popped out this girl's 8th child C-section, emergency C-section, because she had done meth 3 days prior, and the baby was 27 weeks, and we're like, we gotta get this kid out, whatever. You ever had late decelerations and all these medical terms that you don't really need to know. Long story short, we're going, pop out this lady's 8th child. She'd done meth 3 days prior. She was 24 years old. Okay, so those are the people procreating. Meanwhile, my friends, and I agree with you. I think
that kid right there, where's that kid gonna go?
I don't know. I think he's gonna be all right because he came out tap dancing. I don't know if that meth was like good for him or what. The doctor's like, "Whoa, this guy's fine, man."
So dark.
I have to do a study on that.
No, what I'm saying, where does that kid go? Right? He has to have someone to adopt him. Now, there are people that do that.
Mm-hmm. There are people. There's a lot of unsung heroes, man, out there in the world. People are so quick to criticize, and that's why I try not to criticize because there's so many people you're never going to hear about that are doing such good things in the world and on this planet. But overpopulation scares the crap out of me. I think I think that's our number one thing that's just messing up the world. And so But, you know, I'm kind of a big picture guy. Like, all right, well, is this Earth going to be here forever? Nope. Someday the sun's going to get too big, burn up the Earth. So here's my rebuttal to you is that if the best of the best aren't procreating, we're not going to find a way to, you know, develop rockets and space travel with Elon Musk and get off this planet, and we're all doomed anyway. So that would be my argument.
Well, I see that. I will say, though, right, modern medicine has created overpopulation, right? The invention of penicillin.
Oh, yeah.
Most importantly, right? I mean, before 1930, people would die of the common cold, right?
Well, not the common cold, but polio.
Polio.
And now we have vaccines for that. And I'll debate any anti-vaxxers about, you know, the importance of vaccines, as long as they've taken at least one college-level microbiology class. What
will you debate them? I don't understand. Explain.
Just on the science of it, you know, because it's so easy to say the Earth is flat, you know, and have an argument. It's almost like the more ridiculous stuff you say these days, the more attention you get. So we're getting a really dumbing down of society. And, you know, so, yeah, I'll debate a flat earther after they go tape a GoPro to a weather balloon and retrieve the footage and, you know, look at it and say, oh, there, the Earth is round there. Yeah. You know, there's very simple things. But you're right. Yeah, we're keeping people alive that natural selection in the past would have got rid of. And that's ruthless and hard to deal with, but that's what, you know, life is. The cost of being born is eventually you got to die. Yeah. Yeah. So I worked with this pulmonologist. The guy was awesome. He would go tell people when they're dying. And I wanted to record him because he would say, you know, life is a gift, and with the gift of life, what comes with that, dude? Eventually, one day you're gonna die. And then he would explain what's wrong with these people. And by the end of telling, you know, the end of this 5-minute conversation, he's telling these people they're gonna die. They were like thanking him. The way he put it was the best bedside manner I've ever seen in my life. So, my point is, you know, someday Earth will regulate itself. There'll be some big bacteria that mutates and takes out a third of us. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Earth is resilient. I try to be an optimist.
So you think it'll be disease? It'll be disease that wipes out a massive, you know, big portion of the population? You think it'll be disease?
I don't want to prophesy this, man. I said I was a prophet, man. I want to speak good things into existence.
But I mean, we've seen diseases, right?
Well, like, what can there be? There could be nuclear stuff, right? There could be bacterial. I'm
almost more scared of us, what we do to each other as human beings.
Yeah.
To me, it's what we do to each other is the most frightening thing. I mean, and it's so beyond me how just by geographically we're divided, right, in certain places, that we then like have the notion that we're still fighting each other and killing each other, to me is like mind-boggling.
It is.
We're gonna talk about that on a day-to-day basis.
I know, it is so bizarre that you have this set of beliefs and I have this set of beliefs, and we disagree about, so let's go kill each other over it. And that's why I say my friends with good genetics need to be procreating, because if we get enough of us, we're not going to be doing that anymore. It does not make sense.
I think a lot of it all boils down to fear, too. I mean, what is the basis of hate?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And that's why my atheist buddy and I were such good friends, because neither of us had that fear.
Right.
Like, I believed in this nice heavenly afterlife, which actually scares me. Eternity scares me if you ever think about that. But he didn't believe in anything. So we didn't have fear. We had nothing but love for each other. So as cheeseball as that sounds.
It's like Wild Wild Country. Scott and I were talking about that before, and it's like this new group comes into, you know, the way that into a small town. They've got their practices, they've got their things, and then who are these new people? And essentially, in my opinion, they were just fearful of one another. And had they said, hey, we're here, this is what we're about, do you want to come inside and see what we're doing, instead of starting to, you know, the argument started and then the guns started picking up and then they start poisoning people, and it's just a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, and there'll be some leader coming up in our lifetime that resolves a lot of this, I think.
Really? Why do you think that?
It's just people are getting too smart. We're getting too globally connected. We're understanding, you know, we're not that different. Everyone's got a different culture, you know, and we even have different genes. Like certain ethnicity. I say culture because I don't even really believe in race that much. But you get this disease if you're this culture, and you can get more prone to this disease if you're this culture. Point is, we're a global community now. It's not going to take that long for people to wake up and be like, well, I don't really want to fight this guy.
Because people can read and say, well, okay.
The interwebs, McDonald's, whatever. The quicker we...
Have you had those fries? You know?
I think
they put sugar on them. I think they definitely put sugar
some
on
crack on them.
Delicious.
Some kind of crack, whatever.
If you've had McDonald's fries, you don't want to go to war. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah, why would I go to war? I got to shake in and out, man. This is awesome. Life isn't that bad. I'm not going to fight this guy.
Instead of living in a tribal society where we live in like say 50 people in a village, we live now with, millions of people in a very small place, and you have to have money to buy things that we've fabricated this idea of money, right? Money's real, but it's not real. It's just an idea that everyone buys into. And because of that, we're not doing our part in our community, right? You go hunt, you go clean, you go do this, we'll go get fire, and we'll all kind of coexist together. It's like, no, it's like, what can I get? Like, I got to get mine, me, more money, That's what goes on in people's heads every day. Like, that's great. That's this insanity to me. That we're,
scarcity is a scary thing.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, and I understand it, like why we do it. It's a commodity, and that's how you eat. That is how you feed yourself. That's how you survive. That's how you provide for your family. But it's also crazy to me, on the other hand, to think about that we're not just living in a community helping each other.
Yeah.
Right?
That is what I call the Coto Comfort. We go through all these motions, and we don't ever stop to question why. And that's probably one of the reasons I've done a lot of adventures, because then you step out of that for a minute, and you come back, you're a better person, hopefully. And what you're saying, I mean, there's truth to all this stuff.
And that time in nature, as you just said, clears your mind, gets you back to being a human being.
Human being on the planet. Get back to your circadian rhythms, When that light goes down, that sun goes down, you get tired. Exactly. It's so nice. People are so fucked up, right? Like, everyone's like the sleep problems. Everyone's got dealing with anxiety, all these problems. If you get out in nature and you fall asleep because it's dark, and then you wake up when the sun rises, you feel good and normal.
Yeah.
You feel at peace.
Yeah, one of the coolest trips you and I have been on together was paddling Big Sur. I could have done that for 3 more weeks. I know you had to get back to auditions and stuff, but for people out there listening in the podcast radio land, we paddled on this big inflatable aisle surfboard, right?
Yep.
Just paddling down Big Sur coast. This fish, it's like, we could stop and fish and eat some food and thank this fish for giving up his life for us. And holy crap, that was a 9-foot great white that just swam under us. That was so cool, but we're on an inflatable board. Well, cool. Take a bite of this.
Not cool.
We would die.
Yeah.
So that was a cool trip. And what was that, 2-3 days?
Yeah.
Trips don't have to be huge and glorious and worth telling stories about. They just have to kind of hit that reset
cost
button.
Tons of money too,
No.
Just grab a...
What did that cost us? Like
nothing.
$8.50 in trail mix? $8.50. Borrowed the boards and had a cooler full of delicious drinks.
Yeah, I mean, people can do that anywhere. They can.
And a campfire. Campfire is like the original cable TV, man. You sit around that campfire and watch it dance, and that was good times.
The original cable TV. That is true. Fire, we are so drawn to it.
So drawn to it, yeah. And you talk a lot about electric gadgets and how you don't like them, but we're all on them so much. Dude.
Oh, it's the worst.
iPhone, I keep on silent all the time, and I still will look at it. So if someone's calling me, that's the only time I ever answer if I happen to see my phone.
I do the same. That's why people get so mad at me, because they go, "You never answer your phone." You do, especially my mom. But I keep it on silent because it gives me peace. If I'm ready to have it in my, in my face, then I put it there.
Yeah, it's a sense of control. Yeah. Taking a sense of
taking control back. Yeah. And it's so weird because here's a cool story. My dad is 88 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a cell phone. 0 cell phone. He lives so peacefully.
I thought he has one. It just makes outgoing calls.
Well, he has it, but he turns it. He keeps it off. He like keeps it as for an emergency.
That's good.
Right. He was like stuck actually on his car. His car broke down on the freeway. His car broke down actually on the 101.
Yeah.
What is he driving?
He was driving like an old
driving an
Typhoon.
88 fucking
Yeah,
Cutlass.
he doesn't know. He doesn't care. He just doesn't give a shit about material
That's
crap.
funny.
He's like,
That's
no,
funny.
I don't need that.
That's
But his car,
great.
anyway, his car broke down, so he had to use a cell phone. Probably, the one and only time he used it in the last 5 years. But because of that, he has to be home to take a phone call, right? So he has to return a call if he misses it. When he leaves the house, think about it, like I remember what it felt like growing up without cell phones. I remember, and I can still kind of remember the memories. I'm sure you can, Scott,
Yeah, 100%.
and Tim, right? You can remember how it was just playing with your friends when you were a kid, and you were like, okay, I got to go home. My mom called my friend's house or whatever. Now I'm gonna get picked up in like an hour. I got an hour left to play. But you
Street
weren't.
lights came on.
Yeah, you weren't like concerned with, oh, what's going on? What are other people thinking? Like across the world and saying and doing. We didn't have all that noise to deal with.
Well, and if you were in school and somebody was fucking with you or whatever, you could go home and that was the end of it. But now apparently that shit just follows you.
It just follows you,
all
man.
day.
That's horrendous for kids.
And then
man. I feel
everybody
so
on
bad.
Facebook and Instagram is just like, oh yeah, ha, ha, ha,
Yeah, and people are really mean, especially in high school and in middle school. We're really vicious towards each other. I mean, we're not even just out of high school. We're just mean to each other in general.
Yeah, one stat, like, I love that now that we bring up stats, we have to cite our sources.
Cite your sources.
Yeah, because we got so
Crap
tired of people
out there.
just like, yeah. But they say, you know how that say, you need 11 good positive statements for every one negative thing you say to someone, which I think is kind of true. I try to live, because I love making sarcastic jokes and ripping my buddy like a new one. But my boys at the Results Center, the other day were just burning me, and I was laughing so hard, like 3 or 4 really good burns, But you don't really feel edified or empowered by it, even though it's funny and you take it with a grain of salt and you're loved if people are making fun of you. So I try to do that, I try to like, hey, for every one good burn I'm going to get in, I'm going to give you 11 positive statements.
Yeah, you do that a lot more than I do. That's probably something I could work on.
I don't know. I've never noticed that.
No, I mean, I don't. Yeah.
Well,
But that's, when you think about it, it's so easy. That's your superpower, right? You can give compliments to somebody.
it is easy, but it's so much easier to be sarcastic and cynical and jaded and burn someone and get a good laugh
That's
out
true.
of it. Okay,
But,
sarcasm in the Greek
I'm just saying,
means
hey, I could
tearing
say-
the flesh. You're
I
like
could-
tearing someone's flesh, literally.
I could say, I really like your shirt today, Scott.
Well, that's because you got it for me. So you're just
You
complimenting
know, I could
yourself.
say, hey, I like your shirt. It's a cool shirt.
Nah. Let me see your phone since we're talking about phones and
Well, you
mom.
wanna see
I
how
don't know
many-
where I put
You
mine.
want to see how many messages there's been? I've heard it
No,
buzz.
I want to play. So I sent you that audio thing earlier. How much time we at, Tim?
Whatever we want.
Whatever we
We're
want.
sitting about an hour right now.
That
Okay.
actually wasn't that bad. I only had 4 messages in this time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll look down and there will be like 30. And, you come back and that's in an hour.
Yeah.
And, it's so hard to just, 30 different people. You're like, and a lot of times people want things and want answers. And then sometimes I don't have the answers to give them at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I get stressed because those things, man, they're just,
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword because on one hand, now we get to do work anywhere. I get to do work anywhere. I could be on a beach and handling business phone calls, like coordinating stuff, looking on a computer, reading, getting ready for a role, whatever it is we do, if you work a certain job, if you don't have to be. There are a lot of jobs now that open that up to that. But you never stop working.
Exactly.
That's why we got to take it upon ourselves. That's why surfing is great. The steam room, all that shit. Just leave. Thankfully, you can't take the phone.
Yeah, well, and also the art of fabricated adversity. Make up a little adventure, go on it, get out of
Totally.
town for a little while. So on that note, I think we should wrap it up right here, right?
Just do it.
Cut, because I want to show you guys something. And can you unlock this, dude? I want to play you guys something, dude. So you can end. If this doesn't work, if this is too much, we just cut 2 minutes back, all right?
Oh man, we keep it real. Whether it
My
works or
my
doesn't work,
messages, what
it's
do you
staying
want?
in.
Yeah, I'm going to try to, because we're talking about moms and positivity, dude. And I sent you a text earlier today, just to put things. This is my mom. I had to tell her.
Wait. Before, can I set this up, please?
Yeah,
because
please.
You don't tell full stories,
thank
Scott.
You.
Okay, your
and
mom.
I gotta try not to cry here too, so I gotta compose myself.
Your mom. You just found out your mom has lung cancer.
Yes.
And how bad is the lung cancer?
That's a good question. I would say it's bad. You don't want any sort of cancer.
But she's gonna be. Is there a chance she's gonna be okay? What's the?
I think she's gonna be 100% okay. She thinks she's gonna be 100% okay. We found it early because, like I said, I feel like I can tell when someone's sick. I heard my mom cough 2 months ago. My mom, you need a chest X-ray.
Just from a cough.
From a cough. I'm like, that's in your chest. Yeah, it sounds like pneumonia. I've heard it a billion times. Not a billion. That's exaggeration. She went to get a chest X-ray. There's a nodule on her lung. And now I had to go get the chest X-ray. The last time she had one, compare it, because that's what you want to do. You'll say, is this nodule growing? If we did a chest X-ray of anyone in here, a CT scan, probably one of us would have a nodule.
Really?
A suspicious nodule. Everyone has them. And now you're getting more of them with CT scans, high resolution things. So I had to go find her last chest X-ray, compare it, and sure enough, this nodule had grown a little bit. And this is why I say, don't trust every doctor you go to, because the one from 2 years ago should have caught this and said, we need to do some testing. But thankfully, it hadn't grown that much. Long story short, we caught it early enough. She's got to go in for surgery. That's the cure for this thing, is to get it out. And she'll be back. She'll be back tap dancing and being awesome. But, my mom accidentally found out, like, before we had a chance to, like, sit her down and give her. She talked to the nurse about her results. She said, the doctor already told me I had some cells suspicious for, carcinoma and that kind of thing. And, we thought it was bacterial infection. But the nurse told her, no, like, this is adenocarcinoma. And this is what you do from here. So I was telling my mom she had adenocarcinoma, and she was just so at peace about it. That I'm like, Mom, hold on. I'm getting out of the car. I got on my crud. I go and I just hit record, because I'm like, if I ever start to complain again, dude, I'm going to listen to my mom, hearing her diagnosis of lung cancer and how she reacts to it. And I'll play that for anyone else who ever tries to complain to me about their daily
This is to
life.
all the complainers out there.
Yeah. I'm going to hit play. Okay, Tim?
Yeah, just hold it in the microphone there.
I'm going to turn the volume up first.
About the nodule, but she said it was adenocarcinoma. So.
And you've had peace about it? Tell me what you just said.
Yeah. I said, being calm about it is, we're looking at the moon too. It's amazing, that moon. Jeez. I just said I have a peace about it, and I feel okay about it right now. I said, probably freak out about it tomorrow, but I'm okay now. And when she was talking to me, about all the treatments and what they do, I was asking all those questions. So.
Oh, you're an amazing woman, Mom. I love you. That's a reaction no other person on this planet would have.
Oh, gosh, God. I don't know about that, but thanks.
That's good old Judy, man. And on that note, go out, live your life.
Go out, live your life.
Do some adventures.
Keep living it better every day, people.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
Love it, buddy.